Alright guys, BLM here, back with a new video, and in this video, in what is a very impromptu video, here we will be talking about the rumored cast of The Challenge, CBS, and this is insane. I mean, this is a ridiculous cast, and it's hilarious. Now, if you don't know, The Challenge CBS is a spin-off. It is part of this War of the Worlds series that they're doing on Paramount Plus, where there will be different versions around the world of The Challenge, where the winners of those will compete in a final show on Paramount Plus. And the U.S. is going to be represented by The Challenge CBS, which is dumb. But I am still excited for the show. Again, I'm a massive, obviously, Survivor, Big Brother fan, dabbled into Amazing Race. So again, for us to get this CBS-based version of The Challenge is really interesting to me, though this cast is very questionable, and it's actually kind of hilarious to a degree. Now, coming into the casting of this season, we heard about, okay, it's going to be Survivor, Big Brother, Amazing Race, Love Island, and then Tough as Nails. And turns out, no one from Tough as Nails is on this list. Mind you, this is still not a fully confirmed list. I mean, this is a list of people that are probably out there, but also includes a list of alternates, and there might be some names that come up again later down the road. I mean, this cast literally came out earlier in the day that I am recording this video. So again, there's still a lot more in flux, but again, let's still run through the names that we have. Now, again, I have not watched Love Island, so there are 10 people on this cast, again, a third of the people we're about to be talking about, that I don't know these people. So really, I mean, we can run through them really quickly. Again, I don't have much to say. I mean, we got Kira Green from Love Island Season 1. I know her. I've seen her before. Don't know that much about her. I mean, really, a lot of these Love Island people feel kind of generic, where a lot of them just feel like these like Mactor type people that would be on shows like this. But I mean, also are the type you would expect on the main show of The Challenge. I would not be surprised if a lot of these people end up transferring over. But again, Kira, I've heard of her before. That's something. From season 2, we have Selly, I think is how you pronounce her name. Another person, I've seen her name before. Again, like, I've heard of her over the course of the season. I just don't know anything about her. And the same thing goes for Justine, also from season 2. I literally know nothing about this person. I've never seen this person my entire life. But then we're moving on to season 3, the most recent season, where I have heard of Sashay Proudfoot, I think is how you pronounce her name. I've heard of her. I remember people were talking about her. I don't know if that's for a good thing or a bad thing, but I've heard people talk about her. She was also on the list of like earlier rumored people too, so I was like, that's something. Cinco Holland. Know nothing about this guy. I will say that this guy does look ripped. This guy looks like he'll probably do well in The Challenge. I mean, just off his like cast photo and everything, he kind of reminds me of like an Ashley Kane sort of figure from War of the Worlds, the original season of The Challenge, not the new series. But he seems fine. We got Giovanni. I know nothing about this guy. Seems kind of generic, but again, never watched the show. Next up, we got Josh. Know nothing about this guy. Again, whatever. Corey. I'll say Corey seems like he's kind of athletic. I mean, he seems like another one, kind of like Cinco. Seems like one of the more athletic guys of this bunch. So, I mean, that's something. Could do really well. But again, don't know anything about him here. Olivia. Again, also seems kind of basic. Don't know anything about her. Whatever. Shannon. From what I understand, she was a big character. So that's something. Again, let's just move on. There we go. I mean, that's it for Love Island. Whatever. Let's move on to the people that I actually do know. So, first up, I've got one Amazing Race person. This is bizarre. To me, it's like, if you're going to put any Amazing Race people, like, why only one? It's like, at that point, like, just don't put anyone at all. And to be honest, I think this is probably an indication of how CBS views The Amazing Race, where they only put one person from The Amazing Race on this cast. And even that person, again, could be an alternate. But from season 32, we do have James from Will and James, the winning pair of the season. Even the casting of James here is weird to me. Like, I would have thought Will would have been on here over James, personally. But, I mean, James is fun. I mean, he's a big super fan of The Amazing Race. I mean, he's a really, like, strategic figure on that cast. I also believe he is one of the few people in the LGBT community on this cast. I mean, obviously that's a pro. I mean, in terms of The Challenge, I don't see him doing well, so whatever. But now let's get into the big shows. Obviously, we got to talk about Big Brother and Survivor. And I think we're going to start off with Big Brother here. And I think the way that we're going to go through these people is in order of the last time they played, as I feel like that's a bit more interesting because this is a very recent cast, really just in general. I mean, this is a cast of a lot of recent people. I didn't even talk about this with Love Island, but 7 of the 10 people there are from Love Island Season 3. Like, that's kind of insane. And we have a similar issue of Big Brother here that, again, like, it's kind of asinine of them in a game that does have social strategy elements to put so many people from the same cast on the cast. Like, it's kind of dumb, but whatever. And when we're talking about Big Brother here, there are 10 people from Big Brother on this cast. 9 of them come from the last 2 seasons. So that's kind of insane. And what's even more insane is that the only person that doesn't come from the last 2 seasons is Angela from BB20, who, I mean, I will say, like, fits the challenge. Like, she's someone that, if she was not in the relationship with Tyler and everything, like, probably would be, like, a lock to be on the main show, but is bizarre that she's here. I mean, again, like, after the experience with BB22, where Tyler just hated being away from Angela, like, I'm surprised that Angela decided to go on the challenge here. I mean, you would think that they wouldn't want to do reality television again, but whatever. I mean, like, she's probably poised to do well here. I mean, she is, like, a decent athlete. I do expect her to do pretty well. Now we're moving on to BB22, and this is where we're getting some weird people. I mean, let's start off. I mean, Enzo Palumbo is on this cast. It's like, what? Like, this is the most bizarre thing to me. Mind you, again, this is a cast that is slightly older. I mean, obviously a lot of the Love Island people are relatively young, but when we get to Big Brother and Survivor, I mean, there are people in their 40s, and Enzo's obviously one of those, but I never in my wildest dreams would I have thought Enzo would have been on the challenge. Like, especially Enzo over, like, a Hayden, Enzo over, like, a Cody Calafiore. It's like, if we're talking about, like, people who he's been aligned with, like, there are people that he's been aligned with that would have been more likely to be on the challenge than Enzo. Now, I will say that Enzo has been in decent shape recently, so that's something, but I mean, this is still a bizarre pick to me. Next up, we're moving on to Christmas, who is obviously the big controversial one. I mean, again, like, they like Christmas for some reason. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, again, Christmas is, on paper, a perfect fit for the challenge. I mean, even though, again, she is very unlikable and does have a very problematic background. I mean, she's obviously based her entire career around fitness, so I mean, just in that aspect, she's a good pick for a challenge. But also, I mean, she is very confrontational. I mean, she is someone that is probably going to get into fights. Mind you, some of those might be pretty icky, but I mean, like, she is still someone that is going to bring drama. And like, I think at the end of the day, like, even though, again, like, Christmas is not a likable person, I get the casting choice. And with last person from BB22, we do have David Alexander, and who cares? I mean, David is someone that, like, again, from what I understand, has been in the running for the main show for a while, and obviously now he's finally on CBS, and fine, why not? Do I think he'll do well? Probably. Do I really care? Probably not. And now we're moving on to BB23, where we have 6 people from BB23. We literally have all but 2 of the people of color from BB23. We literally have 4 of the 6 members of the Cookout from BB23. This is insane that this is a thing, but it's still a really interesting group of people here. I mean, we're starting off with the winner of the season. We have Xavier, who, I mean, I felt pretty confident was going to be on the challenge, whether it be the CBS version or the main show. I mean, it did feel like he was open to it, and I feel like he's one of these people that, again, once we heard that BB23 people were in contact for a challenge, I felt like Xavier was a clear-cut person. I think he's someone that's primed to do pretty well if he doesn't have a big target on his back, so again, should be interesting. We do also have Azah, who, why? I mean, like, I like Azah. I think she's a likable person. She is not meant for reality television. I mean, she is someone that didn't care about the game of Big Brother by the end of it, and even talked about while in the game that she's not meant for reality television. She'll never do it again. So it's like, I don't know why she just, like, quickly reversed that decision after she left the house and now she's on the challenge. It's like, I don't think she's going to do that well here. Again, she was not good at competitions. Like, I don't know what she's doing here, personally. But whatever. Next up, we got Kyland. And I think Kyland's perfect for a challenge. Kind of similar to what I said about Christmas, but even more so, I think Kyland is a perfect challenge competitor. Again, problematic, especially with his fight with Xavier on his way out. But Kyland is going to be fantastic TV. I think Kyland fits the challenge. Like, if Kyland does not transition to the main show after this, I think that's going to be ridiculous. Like, to me, he should be locked. Again, unless some problematic things happen along the way. But I think Kyland is amazing casting for the challenge. Again, obviously being very physically gifted, being someone that is a decent strategic thinker, and being someone that is a very messy player as well. I really feel like Kylan brings everything to the table here. Perfect pick. Next up, we got Tiffany Mitchell, and fine. I think if this was the main show, I would be a bit more questionable because, again, she is like one of the older people on the cast here. But for the CBS version, where it does feel like there are other people around her age, again, whatever, it's fine. Again, obviously, massive fan favorite from BB23, mastermind of the cookout, great player on Big Brother. Interesting to see how she does on the challenge. So again, decent pick there. Next up, we're getting to the non-cookout people. We do have Alyssa. And again, Alyssa feels perfect for the challenge. I don't know how well she will do. Like, I don't know how good she really is in terms of like physical competitions. But I mean, she seems likable enough. I think she'll do okay. And finally, we got Derek X. And again, that's fine. Derek X, fan favorite, BB23. Fine physically. Probably going to be good in anything that is more mental based. Obviously is someone that picked up the game of the Big Brother pretty quickly. So again, I'm excited to see how he does on the challenge here. And really just overall, I mean, the Big Brother group, I think, is fine. But then we're getting to Survivor. And this is, like, still not necessarily a bad group, but really just feels like a random group. And again, like, I'm going to go in order of the last time they played. And we're going to start off with probably the person that is the furthest removed from reality television on this cast. And that is Tasha Fox, who I love that she's on here, but also feels like a very random pick. Now, Tasha's someone that obviously was very good physically on Cagayan, was fine on Cambodia, but I mean, she's still someone that like seems like an all-around decent player here for the challenge. So again, I don't hate the pick here. Next up, we're moving forward to season 35, where we do have someone that, again, should have been on the main show, but on CBS here, we do have Desi. And again, perfect pick. Again, someone that I think should have been on the main show by now. I think she's someone that is very physical. Seems like someone that the challenge would cast. I mean, I think this was kind of a no-brainer here, even though in terms of Survivor legacy, she's obviously not like the biggest name. Actually, she's probably the least notable figure of this Big Brother grouping here. But I mean, again, in terms of like her relation to the challenge, I feel like she could do well there. So again, good pick there. Next, we're moving on to Ghost Island, really the last person that hasn't played in the last 2 seasons. And here we have Dama Bate, who kind of like Enzo is like, what? Now, I love Dominic Abate. He's probably one of my favorite players in recent history. But what is he doing on the challenge? Not that I think he will do really poorly, especially, again, like with the field that we have here. Like, I think he could do okay. Like, he did do well in challenges in Ghost Island. He's pretty much a pretty great all-around player. But again, he's also, again, up there in age. But also, how are we in a world where Dama Bate, one of the best players to not win the game of Survivor, gets to play the challenge before he goes on Survivor for a second time? Like, that is insane to me. Like, this is such a ridiculous concept to me that I just really can't wrap my head around. Like, it is so weird that Dominic is on the challenge to me, but whatever. And now we're moving on to Winners at War, where we surprisingly have 3 winners here. And this did kind of shock me. I mean, obviously we did have Michelle and Natalie transition to the main show, who are not here. Mind you, also, no one from the main show is on this season, even those that were on CBS, which is kind of a weird choice. They probably just want to completely separate the shows, but I do feel like there were some people that would have been cool to see here, particularly like a Jay, a Michelle, obviously Natalie Anderson. But from season 40 here, we have Sarah Lacina, which is, again, like, what? I mean, Sarah Lacina, again, is a pretty problematic figure outside the show, but, I mean, is very physical. I mean, she is someone that trains in CrossFit. I mean, she does feel like, in terms of the physical aspects of the game, someone that is a perfect fit for the challenge. And she is obviously, like, very good strategically. I will say, though, I do not expect her to be good TV. I mean, I think this is, like, kind of a question mark to me, where also, like, I'm just surprised Sarah Lacina even wants to do reality television again. I mean, she's someone that's been very open about how negative of an experience she had with the, like, online community post Game Changers. And it's like, I really just don't get why she's doing it again, but fine. And to go along with that, Ben Driebergen is on the challenge. Like, again, what world are we in where Ben Driebergen is on the challenge? I mean, it's so bizarre to me, but like, at least I get this casting choice a bit more. I mean, obviously Ben is a big character. He is a casual fan favorite, but again, another one that isn't well liked by the online community. But I mean, like, again, I do get this casting choice a bit more. I actually don't think he's gonna do poorly here. I think he's actually primed to do fine. And he's also on here with Desi again, where they played their original season together. So I mean, that might be an interesting dynamic, even though they never really had that much of interaction there. But so, I mean, overall, I mean, this is an interesting casting choice here, but it's still really weird that Ben is on the challenge. And the final person from Winners at War is also a big surprise, but one that's a bit more pleasant to me, and that is Tyson. And this is going to be fascinating to me. To me, Tyson is the biggest name on this cast in terms of the legacies within the course of their individual shows. And I believe he's also the person from the furthest back season. I mean, he obviously first played in Tokenshin, which was back in like 2009. So again, he is the furthest back person here coming to the challenge, but I think he's someone that could do well. Now, I do worry for him in like all out like physical competitions. Like, I don't know how well he's going to do in something like a hall brawl, but I mean, I do think as a whole, like, Tyson's a very good athlete, and that was something that he's obviously very well known for in his first season in particular. So it's like, I mean, he is a big physical threat. We saw him return from the edge on Winners at War. I mean, like, he definitely is someone that I think could do very well, and he's someone that I am fascinated to see here. And with that, we're moving on to Survivor 41, obviously the most recently finished season at least, and I'm like kind of conflicted on this. I'm the three that are here I'm fine with, but I'm kind of surprised there's not more. To not have like Ricard here, to not have Xander here. I mean, there are some weird people not here, but first up, I mean, we do have Danny, who I think is a good pick. He's someone that's likable. He gets social strategy games. His transition to the challenge here should be pretty natural. We also have Liana, who I like. Again, I'm fine with her being on here. I think it'll be interesting to see how she does on the challenge. I mean, she was competent in challenges on Survivor, not necessarily the greatest in the world, but I mean, I do think it'll be nice to see her kind of continue her story, where I do feel like she came off as super young on 41, and while she's not much older here, I do think seeing her on her second reality show now could be interesting. And the final person we'll be talking about here is someone that I'm surprised by in the fact that they're even able to go on the challenge, and that person is Shan. And I mean, this is the thing, like, Shan obviously is a lock if everything is fine with her health and everything, but I was under the impression that she wasn't going to be able to do the challenge. I mean, from what I understand, she was barely even able to go on Survivor due to health issues. So it's surprising to me that she's on the challenge here, as I didn't think her health would hold up. But again, if she's on there, then fine. Again, I think she's a good casting choice. She's obviously a good character, strategic player. I don't know how she'll do in challenges just in general, even outside of health reasons. But again, if she's cleared and healthy to play the game, then fine. Again, I think it's a good casting choice. But I mean, there we go. I mean, that's the rumored cast as of right now. Again, like, I'm not expecting all these people to actually be on the cast, and there might also be names that we just don't know as of right now. But those are all the people currently in the running, at least, for this cast. And again, it's a bizarre cast. There's so many weird choices here, particularly on the Survivor and Big Brother side of things. And mind you, for all I know, there are on the Love Island side of things. Just, I don't know Love Island. But I still think it's a really fascinating cast, and I think there's a good chunk of people that I'm excited just to see again. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter to me about the actual challenge element of the show. To me, this is more so an excuse to see these reality TV figures that I know from previous shows and seeing them continue their legacies as reality TV figures. I feel like that alone is going to be a fascinating element of this show, is to see these people that I've seen on other shows try out the challenge. So with that, I mean, obviously I will be doing a review of the show when it eventually finishes later in the summer. I'm also in the process of doing a challenge rewatch, so I can finally get around to do my challenge season ranking, so hopefully those come pretty soon. Obviously, All Stars 3 comes not too far from now, so expect a review of that as well. Now, as of right now, I've decided that I'm not going to do individual reviews on the other World of World spinoffs, but I was always intending to make kind of a sequel video to my season ranking where I rank all the spin-offs. And at this point, I'm kind of thinking I'll just add those to that video. So again, I'll still eventually talk about them at some point. So you can expect that video down the road as well. And obviously the same sort of coverage on BB Can and Survivor 42 and Australian Survivor, and really just the same things you can expect from the channel down the road. But for now, that is the video. Thank you for watching.